I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't slam the table. There was no dramatic gasp, no shattered glass, no curse whispered into the silence. I just sat there, absolutely still, staring at the email my daughter sent me. 4 words. That's all it took to erase a mother. Not a paragraph, not a phone call, not even a sentence with punctuation, just 4 words. Mom watched the live stream. No hi, Mom, no explanation, no acknowledgement of the months we spent planning, no thank you for the $30,000 I'd already transferred, no emotion, no shame, just a link and a cold instruction, as if I were a distant acquaintance, a forgotten relative, an audience member. Not the woman who carried her for 9 months, nursed her through fevers, paid off her student loans, and helped her pick the wedding dress she swore made her feel like a queen. And now the queen was getting married, and her mother wasn't even invited to the palace. Do you know what that feels like? To raise someone with every ounce of love you have and then be reduced to a viewer, a spectator to your own child's milestone? I didn't whisper her name. I didn't say a word. I just stared at that screen, my hands frozen above the keyboard, as if typing a reply would somehow confirm this was real. It wasn't a fight. It wasn't a misunderstanding. It was erasure. Years of bedtime stories, scraped knees, dance rehearsals, parent-teacher conferences, whispered encouragements behind closed doors. Years of being the first call, the last resort, the one person who showed up even when no one else did. All undone with a hyperlink. And the worst part? I wasn't even shocked. Somewhere deep down, I think I knew this day would come. Not the wedding, the betrayal. There had been signs, little shifts in tone and gratitude and warmth. She stopped calling me mama years ago, only reached out when she needed something. But even still, you never expect the knife to land quite so deep, or so silently. No blood, no bruise, just a dull, echoing ache, the kind only a mother can feel when her child decides she's no longer essential. And so I closed the laptop, sat back, and let the silence wrap around me like a second skin. That was the moment everything changed. Not when I read the email, but when I didn't cry. I had been preparing to send another $50,000. Yes, $50,000. For the flower arrangements. For the upgraded menu. For the custom neon sign that spelled out Emily and Andrew forever. In cursive gold lettering. For things that, to be honest, I didn't really understand, but Emily wanted them. And when Emily wanted something, I tried to find a way to give it. Napa Valley. Elegant. Extravagant. The kind of wedding you only see in magazines or in movies, with string quartets and champagne fountains. And I was proud that my daughter had made it, that she would walk down an aisle lined with roses in a dress that shimmered like moonlight, that people would look at her and say, she must come from royalty. And I'd be standing there quietly smiling, thinking, she does. Because I was the one who worked double shifts. I was the one who skipped vacations, sold my jewelry, and ate soup for weeks, just so there'd be enough for her to have this one perfect day. I imagined that moment so many times, seeing her, glowing, looking back at me proud, grateful. But instead, she sent me a live stream link. No seat reserved, no corsage. No mother-daughter photo session. Just a reminder that I was useful. Until I wasn't. She didn't even say, don't come. She didn't have to. Her silence was enough. That realization hit me like cold water. My love had become a transaction, not a bond, not a relationship, just an account she could withdraw from. And when the balance was no longer enough, she moved on. And for the first time in years, I paused. I didn't react with anger, didn't rush to justify her actions, didn't write a long email begging for clarity. I sat in that stillness, let the truth settle like dust. I had spent my whole life trying to be the good mother, the quiet one, the one who always gave without needing thanks, who always forgave without an apology. But where had that gotten me? Forgotten, discarded, downgraded to a watcher of memories she didn't want me to be part of. And in that moment, something ancient inside me stirred. I wasn't just a mother. I was a woman who had lost herself in sacrifice, and who, in that silence, was beginning to remember who she was before the giving began. This wedding? It was supposed to be her fairy tale, but I realized something. After reading the email, I didn't react. I didn't throw my phone across the room. I didn't yell into the empty kitchen. I didn't even let out a sigh. I just sat there, and then I stood up, calm, controlled, not out of rage, but out of something colder, clearer, resolve. I walked to the closet, reached for my long gray coat, the one I used to wear to Emily's parent-teacher meetings when I wanted to look put together. This time, I wasn't trying to impress anyone. I just needed something warm. The air outside bit at my skin. It was one of those crisp mornings where the world felt sharp, where everything looked the same, but nothing felt the same anymore. I got into my car and drove in silence. No music, no radio, just the sound of the turn signal clicking as I merged onto the main road, left at the intersection, right at the bakery Emily used to love, a straight shot to the bank, the same bank where I opened her college fund, the same branch where I refinanced the house to help her with her down payment, the same marble floors I walked across when I transferred the first $30,000, smiling like a fool, proud to support her dream. And now I was here to undo that dream. Carlos, the branch manager, recognized me immediately. "Mrs. Collins," he said warmly, "back again already?" I gave him a tired smile. Not exactly, for the same reason. We sat down in his office. The leather chair creaked beneath me as I settled in. I pulled out the paperwork I had received, the wire details, the routing slip. Everything was there, pristine. "I'd like to cancel a transfer," I said. Carlos looked up, confused. "Cancel?" "Yes, the full $50,000. It hasn't cleared yet, has it?" "No, it's scheduled for Monday." "But," he hesitated, eyes scanning the numbers. "Mrs. Collins, are you sure? That's a lot of money." I nodded. No emotion, just a quiet certainty. He stared for a second longer, perhaps waiting for me to change my mind. Maybe he thought I'd cry, explain, offer a story. But I didn't. I just signed. One stroke of the pen. That's all it took to reclaim a part of myself. A decade ago, I would have second-guessed. 5 years ago, I would have called Emily and begged for context. Even last year, I might have waited, hoped, made excuses for her. But not this time. This time I wasn't the sacrificial mother. I wasn't the invisible backbone holding up someone else's fantasy. I wasn't the ATM with a heart. I was a woman who had given enough. Maybe not everything needed to fall apart with screaming and fire. Maybe some endings were made of silence and signed forms, and a woman walking out of a bank with her head held just a little higher. Maybe that's how power returns to those who forgot they ever had it. I got home, kicked off my shoes, hung up my coat, and then the noise started. 9 missed calls from Emily, 2 from Luke. My inbox blinking like it couldn't breathe. Subject line screaming, "Mom, please, talk to me. We need the money." There it was. Not "I'm sorry." Not "I didn't mean to hurt you." Not "I miss you, Mom." Just urgency. Just panic. About the venue, the florist, the photographer deposit, the balance for the dress. And not once, did anyone ask if I was okay. I stared at the phone as if it were a stranger, a foreign object. This little screen that once lit up with Happy Mother's Day now pulsed like a heart monitor for a wedding I was no longer part of. I didn't cry, didn't respond. I powered the phone off and set it face down. Let them sit in silence for once. Let them feel the absence they thought they could afford. Because here's the thing. I'm not a bank account with a birthday. I'm not a backup plan in pearls. I'm not a silent investor in someone else's fairy tale. I'm a mother. And for the first time in 32 years, I remembered that being a mother doesn't mean being a doormat. They thought they could erase me and still keep the check. But I won't fund disrespect. And I won't fund amnesia. Emily had forgotten everything I'd done. Forgotten the car I sold to cover her college books. Forgotten the nights I stayed up sewing her prom dress by hand because she wanted it special. Forgotten the Christmases I skipped dinner so she could open something wrapped even when the fridge was bare. She forgot. And I was supposed to just keep giving? No, love is not unconditional when it costs your soul. Let me say that again. Love should not require the death of your self-worth. I thought I was helping her build her dream wedding. Turns out I was building a stage I wasn't even invited to stand on. And when I took away the funding, the whole illusion collapsed. The planner backed out. The caterer refused to show without payment. The florist said she had other clients. Even the DJ demanded cash up front. Suddenly they were scrambling. Panic calls turned into guilt-tripping voicemails. "Please, Mom, think about how this will look. Don't do this to her." But I didn't do anything to her. I just stopped doing everything for her. There's a difference. And it's about damn time someone taught her that. So no, I didn't pick up, didn't drive over, didn't save the day. I sat in my kitchen, made myself a cup of tea, and opened a book. That night, Luke showed up, unannounced, still in his work clothes, tie loosened, shirt wrinkled, the weight of the day still clinging to him. And yet it wasn't exhaustion in his eyes. It was accusation. He stood in the doorway, phone in hand like a weapon, like proof. "Why are you doing this, Mom?" he said. "Emily said you canceled the transfer." No, "Hi, Mom. No, how are you holding up?" Just straight to the point. The money. I was in the kitchen, pouring myself a glass of wine. The bottle didn't tremble. My hand didn't shake. "I gave $30,000, I said evenly, and in return, I got erased from the guest list. Tell me, Luke, should I not be angry?" He blinked, swallowed, then his voice rose. "You always make it about you. Every time." I took a breath. Not a shaky breath, not a defensive one, just air. And then I stood. Not quickly, not dramatically, but slowly, deliberately. I walked around the counter, met his eyes, and said the words I had never said to any of my children, not even when they were little and slammed doors, cursed, cried. "Get out of my house." He froze. His mouth opened, as if to protest, but something about my tone, or my stillness, made him pause. It was the first time I didn't explain myself, didn't rush to fix things, didn't say, "I didn't mean it like that," didn't cry just to keep the peace. I stood there, shoulders square, spine tall, not out of pride, but clarity, because sometimes silence speaks louder than 1,000 justifications. And that night, my silence said, "You don't get to shout at the woman who made you. You don't get to walk into her kitchen, demand answers, and forget the decades she held your world together." I had been everything for my children: advocate, protector, ATM, emotional punching bag, cheerleader, therapist, nurse. But now I was just a human being. Not a role, not a servant, not a background figure in their adult drama. I was someone who hurt. And no one, not Emily, not Luke, had paused long enough to see it, to see me. Luke stepped back, shifted awkwardly. I thought you'd understand," he mumbled. I didn't answer, because I was done making their pain bigger than my own, done shrinking myself to keep the family image clean. Sometimes, the most radical thing a mother can do is not to shout, not to slam doors, but to stand still. A few days passed. No calls from Emily, no messages from Luke, just silence, the kind that settles over a house like dust, soft, quiet, but impossible to ignore. Then came a knock, not frantic, not angry, just hesitant. I opened the door and there she was, Sophia, Emily's best friend since second grade. The girl who used to sleep over on school nights, who called me Mom Number 2, who cried on my couch after her first heartbreak. She stood there now, grown, uncomfortable, hair curled, makeup fading at the corners. She looked like someone who had been crying in a car before gathering the courage to ring the bell. I opened the door wider. "Come in." We sat in the kitchen, the same place I had sat with her 100 times before. Only now, the warmth between us had thinned. I made her tea, chamomile, no sugar, just how she liked it. She wrapped her hands around the mug as if it might steady her voice. "She's a mess, Mrs. Collins." I didn't answer. "The wedding's falling apart. The florist pulled out. The caterer said he won't show without full payment. Everything's unraveling." Still, I said nothing. "She's panicking. She's not sleeping. She doesn't know what to do." I nodded slowly. Actions have consequences. "She wants to know." Sophia paused, her voice faltered. "Is there anything she can say to change your mind?" I looked at her, really looked at her. This was the girl who used to hug me tighter than my own daughter did. The one who used to draw cards that said, "Thank you for being like a second mom." And now, she sat across from me, sent like an emissary from a broken kingdom, trying to negotiate a surrender. "There isn't," I said. Her eyes flickered. "Not even if she apologizes?" I slid the tea toward her, calm, final. Words are easy, Sophia. Especially when people are desperate. She bit her lip. "She didn't mean to hurt you." I smiled, not bitterly, just tiredly. They never do, that's the thing. People rarely mean to hurt the ones who love them. They just forget to care in time. Sophia looked down. "She's scared." "So was I said. "When she sent that email, I sat in this kitchen and felt like someone had thrown me out of my own life. And no one knocked on my door then. Not Emily, not Luke, not even you." She flinched. "I didn't say it to be cruel. I said it because it was true. The ones who love you," I continued, "they don't wait until you stop giving to start seeing you." The room went still, no music, no clock ticking, just a quiet breath between women. One old enough to know the cost of silence, one just learning it. "I'm sorry," she whispered. I reached out and touched her hand. "I know." She finished her tea, and when she left, she didn't ask again, because deep down, she understood. This wasn't about a wedding. It was about worth. And for the first time in years, I was claiming mine. They tried to rebuild. I could see it in the frantic calls I didn't answer, the follow-up emails I deleted without reading, the maybe we can downsize whispers that floated through extended relatives who didn't know where to stand. But it was too late, not just for the wedding. Too late for pretending nothing happened. Too late to slap a bow on top of the mess and call it love. Too late to throw flowers over a silence that had already taken root. Because when trust is broken, truly broken, no amount of money, no dress, no fresh playlist or Pinterest board can fix it. They tried. I'll give them that. Emily called the decorator herself this time. Luke offered to front some costs. Andrew's parents got involved. Diplomatic, proper, confused. But the vendors were done. The venue had already rebooked the date. The florist refused to restock unless paid in full up front. The caterer didn't return calls. And let's not even talk about the band. They posted the text thread online for laughs. The fairy tale collapsed in slow motion, one piece at a time. Until all that remained was a backyard, some folding chairs, a white sheet pinned between two trees, a plastic table for cake, and a guest list trimmed down to less than 20 people. Mostly Andrew's side. His parents, his cousin who DJs part-time, a neighbor who brought paper plates. I wasn't invited. No text, no last-minute call, not even a passive-aggressive, "You're welcome to come if you want." But this time, I didn't need to be. Because something had shifted inside me. There was no longer a version of me that longed to witness what I wasn't welcome to be part of. No ache, no anticipation, no bitter hope. I spent that afternoon at a bookstore. I bought myself 2 novels, a new journal, and a cappuccino with extra foam. Sat by the window, watched strangers pass, laughed quietly at a toddler trying to chase a pigeon. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel like I was missing anything, because I wasn't. What I once thought was a moment I had to be part of had turned into a mirror, not showing me what I lacked, but reflecting what I had finally reclaimed, my boundaries, my dignity, my peace. I wasn't angry, not anymore. Anger had burned itself out days ago. What remained was cleaner, quieter, stronger, freedom. Not the kind with fireworks or applause, but the quiet kind. The kind you earn by walking away and not looking back. I went back to pottery class. The same studio I had abandoned 3 years ago when Emily started planning her engagement. Back then, I dropped everything, including my passions, to help her design a future she never intended to share with me. Now I walk into that space with my own 2 hands and no expectations. There's something sacred about clay. The way it softens with patience. The way it collapses when forced. The way it remembers every touch, gentle or harsh. I find a strange comfort in shaping bowls that no one will ever see but me. Because now, that's enough. I have lunch with friends, real ones, women who don't need me to prove my usefulness in order to be invited. We talk about books, about aging, about ridiculous things we used to believe about love. And we laugh. The kind of laughter that starts in the chest and shakes your ribs. Laughter that doesn't ask permission. I read again. Not articles, not instructions, but real books. Thick, word-heavy books that demand stillness and give back something nourishing in return. Books I used to mark with folded corners before I had time to finish them. Now I finish them, and I underline the lines that speak to the woman I've become. I go to the farmer's market on Sundays, buy flowers just because I like how they look on my table, not because someone is coming over, not because I need to impress. I light candles in the evening. I leave the dishes in the sink sometimes. I water my plants slowly, speaking to them like old friends. I live now, differently. Not on anyone's schedule, not waiting for a phone call, not rehearsing answers in case someone asks for something. I don't wake up wondering who needs me, or worse, who only wants me when I'm giving. That version of me, the one who measured her worth by how many fires she could put out. She's gone. I'm not a caretaker anymore. Not a background extra in other people's stories. Not the woman with the bottomless well of forgiveness and funding. I am a woman, still healing, still learning to trust silence. But I'm here, and I'm choosing every day to stay loyal to myself. It's not loud, it's not triumphant, but it's real, and it's mine. You don't have to burn yourself to keep others warm. You don't have to pour from an empty cup. You don't have to shrink so others can stretch. You don't have to explain your worth to anyone who only sees value when your name is attached to a $sign. If your presence only matters when money is involved, then your absence becomes the loudest truth of all. Because silence, the kind that comes after you stop begging to be seen, is not weakness. It's power. It's clarity. It's the sound of someone finally remembering who they are. And sometimes, the strongest kind of love is not the one you give endlessly to people who take it for granted, but the one you choose to give, quietly, finally, to yourself. Not out of bitterness, not out of revenge, but because one day you wake up and realize you are not selfish for choosing yourself. You are sacred, and sacred things, they don't beg, they don't chase, they simply are.